guys, what's going on? I'm Louie, one of the coaches here at Triangle Table Tennis, and today I am going to be going over a topic a lot of people have been asking me about recently. I'm going to be going over the tactics and strategy behind pushing. Specifically, I'm going to go over where you should be pushing and how you should be pushing in order to capitalize on your opponent's positioning and also maximize the chances of you getting a very predictable ball back. So in this video, I will start by going over some of the more fundamental things like the way angles work on the table and what angles your opponent can and can't play based on where you put the ball. And then I'm also going to be going and showing some examples from match play and also some practice play. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so before I start explaining everything, it goes without saying, the lower quality your shot, the more unpredictable your opponent becomes and the wider their cone becomes in terms of the possible locations that they can hit the ball. And of course, the higher quality your shot, the more predictable your opponent becomes and the easier it'll be for you to set yourself up. So this cone stuff and everything I'm talking about only applies if you're consistently able to give your opponent high quality shots. It completely goes out the window if you're just dinking the ball over the net, because then you give them control over the point. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, after this segment, I'll go over the technique and what you can do to ensure that you're always giving your opponent a high quality shot. But no, unless you are giving your opponent a high quality shot, this strategy and like predictability and reading your opponent becomes a lot more difficult. Alright, so before I get into some more advanced strategy and how you should be pushing, it's important to go over the angles your opponent can and can't play depending on where you place the ball. So that's what I'm going to go over first. In table tennis, there's always a cone that exists of all the possible locations you could hit the ball. So let's just assume for now that I'm your opponent and you're playing me, you're on that side of the table, and you're pushing to me. No matter where you play, there's a cone of where I can hit the ball, and the cone looks like this. Let's start by assuming you play a relatively weak push, shallow, and in the middle of the table, say like half distance right here. This is where your shot landed. From this point, the cone of where I can hit the ball looks something like this. And what that means is from right here, I can play to both extremes. So I have an angle really wide this way, and I also have an angle really wide this way. I can go to either extreme, and you don't really have any way of predicting where I'm going to hit the ball. Now let's say you play a much higher quality push that's deep on the table and right to one of the corners. So let's start by saying you play a push right here. The size of the cone or the locations that I can hit the ball remain relatively the same, but now the cone is shifted to your right. So now, from this corner, the cone looks something like this. And what that means is I can still play cross court without much issue, but you've now eliminated this angle right here really wide. So if you play to this corner, there's no way that I can play a ball to your extreme left, kicking out wide this way. I can play down the line, but at best, it's going to be close to the corner or maybe even a couple inches off the corner. Likewise, if you play to this corner, the cone of where I can hit the ball now looks something like this. I can play here without much issue. Maybe I can play down the line if I'm a good player, but there's no way from this corner that I can play a ball kicking out wide this way. And if you go deep to the middle, while the area of the cone is slightly reduced, I can still play pretty wide to both corners, and you're still going to have a lot more trouble predicting where I'm going to hit the ball. So now that we've gone over angles, we can go over how you should be pushing and go over some more advanced strategy in volley pushing. All right, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm really quickly going to demonstrate how you can keep your pushes low, deep, and heavy, or in other words, keep your pushes at a very high quality. If you miss out on any one of those three things when you're pushing against a high level player, then they're going to be able to maximize their angles and you increase their chances of producing a really high quality shot, which of course is what you don't want. So again, the three things you need for a high quality push when you're pushing long are for the push to be low, you need the push to be deep, and you need the push to be heavy. So I guess I'll start on the forehand push. And when you're pushing, there's really not much to it in terms of learning how to push, but it's something that does require a lot of practice, and it might not be the funnest shot to practice, but it's something that's really important, especially as you get to the higher level. Just dinking the ball over the net isn't really going to cut it. So these shots are important, and repetition is what makes them better and better. But on the forehand, this is not a good push. This is not a good push. This is not a good push. And while I guess with this one, there's nothing mechanically wrong with the shot, it's just not very high quality. It landed pretty close to the middle of the table. It was a few inches above the white part of the net, and it wasn't especially heavy. And what that means is if I'm playing a high level player, they're not going to give me a predictable ball. They're going to be in complete control of the point, and that's not what I want. So on the forehand, this is what a high quality push should look like. It should be deep, pretty fast, and you can see it lands very close to the corner of the table. And there's a big difference between that and then almost just dinking the ball over the net. And the same thing applies on the back end. You don't want to just push like this, or with some funky form like this, or this, or this. Those are all low quality shots, and even the one where even the one where I pushed like this, again, didn't have anything mechanically wrong with it. It was just low quality, landed in the middle of the table, it was high, didn't have much spin. So on the back end, this is what a high quality push should look like. You want to go completely under the ball, put as much underspin on it as you can. And again, you can see the ball lands pretty close to the corner of the table with a lot of spin. And this both limits your opponent's angles and makes it much harder for your opponent to lift the ball. And the more difficult it is for your opponent to lift the ball, the more likely they are to just spin the ball up as opposed to trying to play some crazy kill shot when they're looping. Alright, I just want to go over a couple of kind of realistic examples that you might find yourself in which understanding how the angles all work can be beneficial in terms of opponent predictability. Alright, next situation, we're again going to assume that you're on that side of the table and you're playing against me in a match and you are going to push to me. The difference now is I am a slightly higher level player, so now when you push to me, you're pretty certain that I am going to open up with a loop. And this is where the strategy becomes a little bit more important because you don't want to just blindly push and let me loop wherever I want. That's going to be unpredictable. There's a good chance my loop will be a winner, and you just don't want that. So let's start by assuming you want to either block or counter loop on your forehand. And this is actually interesting. If you land a really, really high quality push, so low, deep, and heavy, right into this corner, and the opponent is pushing, there's a pretty good chance that they could go down the line. But if they're looping, they're almost always going to go cross court. Now, if it's a low quality shot and they see an opportunity for a winner down the line, of course, they could still go down there. But the reason you'll almost never see someone loop an extremely high quality push down the line is for two reasons. One, the angle, as I demonstrated with the cone, kind of the area of the cone earlier, is just an extremely difficult angle. It's also a risky angle because the table's so short. But the main reason is, let's say I'm here in my ready position, you push me really deep into the corner, I have to move, and then I decide that I'm going to play a nice looking shot down the line. Well, what I've just done is opened up an angle cross court and left all of this table open. So by looping down the line, unless it's a winner, I've put myself in a terrible position for the rest of the point. So once you get to the higher level, if you want to block or counter on your forehand, just give your opponent a really high quality push into the corner. They're probably going to spin to your forehand, and then you're going to be able to play the point out. If I play here, you have this angle really easily covered, and it screws me. Now, the same concept also applies not to as big of an extent, but still to an extent if you wanted to block on your backhand, or if you're a lefty and you wanted to block on your forehand or counter loop on your forehand. If you give me an exceptionally high quality push right into this corner, and I'm right here, you make me move from right here, it's extremely difficult for me to play this angle down the line. Even if I play that angle down the line, although I'm not as out of position, you now have this incredibly easy angle to block, and you're going to force me to lose, or excuse me, you're going to force me to move. So if you want to set up a block to this corner, and you're playing a good player, and you push heavy, low, deep right into this corner, most of the time, you're going to get just a slow, spinny loop right into the corner where you want it, and then you can do what you want with the ball. And just like with the forehand side, if someone's pushing, they can kind of go anywhere. Even if you play pretty high quality, they can probably still sneak it down the line. When someone's looping though, it's a different story, because from here, it's exceptionally difficult to land a backhand loop down the line, and the benefits of doing so very rarely outweigh the costs, if that makes sense. So that's the basics of strategy that you should be thinking about when pushing. And I have one more example to cover, and then we're going to go into some live video examples. Alright, so the last thing I want to touch on is something that's not necessarily a tactic, because it's not going to work every time, but something that you should just keep in mind when you're playing, because I know a lot of you guys, myself included, probably like to play a pivot forehand or a step around forehand, or in other words, a forehand from your backhand corner right here. And if you know how to push with really, really high quality, then you can sub this shot a lot more than you would be able to just dinking the ball over the net and hoping and blindly stepping the corner, hoping that they play right here. So in other words, if I chop really heavy, really low, really deep into that corner, the probability of myself getting a step around opportunity is a lot higher than if I'm just dinking the ball over the net. Now, of course, even if I have a really high quality push, I don't want to just push and blindly step the corner, but if you have it in the back of your mind, then you can be ready once you see them pushing back cross court to play that step around shot and maybe win yourself some points. Alright, now we can finally go into some live video examples where I play with an actual human, and that can further demonstrate these concepts, and then maybe you guys will understand it a little